Welcome to Hillview Manor. We are in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. This is our first live investigation over on TikTok. Don't worry, we're gonna have more, so follow me on TikTok for live haunts just like this one. But let's come inside. Okay, let's go explore and figure out exactly what we're doing here. Oh, hey! Welcome to episode 1 of LMC Haunts. I am so glad that you are here. We'll take a look at our findings, talk about the equipment that we use, and the evidence that we captured with your help. We're at the Haunted Hill View Manor in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. 80,000 square feet of hallways, rooms, dark corners, and plenty of residents left over from its history. But before we get started, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to this page and turn on your notifications. And follow me on TikTok to virtually investigate with me on our upcoming haunts. Hillview Manor was formerly known as the Lawrence County Home for the Aged. A facility like this typically would lump together the county's destitute, those diagnosed with mental or psychiatric disorders, and elderly residents without family members to care for them. The Lawrence County Home opened its doors in late October 1926. With about 12 staff members and 20 of its first occupants moving into residency, led by its caretakers, Perry and Mary Snyder, who had been elected in 1913 to serve in respective posts at the Newcastle City Home. In 1944, there were accusations of incompetency in the home. During the formal hearing, the Snyders were still permitted to stay in the home. However, by late August, they were given 3 weeks to vacate the premise, wherein a longtime director of the welfare department took over operations. In the later half of the 1960s, Lawrence County was remodeled and slowly changed into a skilled nursing facility. But by 1970, it faced severe overcrowding issues and lacked support of the county. In 1974, the county did decide to add a new section to expand residential accommodations. The 3-story addition was completed and opened in mid-1977 and brought with it a new name for the entire facility: Hillview Manor. Due to financial constraints, Hillview did close in 2004. And although seemingly quiet atop a grassy hill off Route 65, Haunted Hill View Manor is anything but empty. So, what are we investigating with? Well, that's a great question. When you're first starting out in this field, even if you're a seasoned investigator, the most important equipment to have on hand is you. So always make sure to check in with how you feel, what you're experiencing, and see if you can back up those reactions with documentable evidence. Otherwise, a flashlight, a good night vision camera, and a digital recorder are all really great basics to get you started and on your way. You will also see us using a REM pod and a spirit box, but more on both of these things later. All right. Let's get into it. This next intriguing occurrence happens on the 3rd floor at the nurses' station. This is where a lot of energy converges. This is where things like information is exchanged, where the workers mostly gather to plan their days. And this is where any patients or residents would come to if they needed help or if they needed something. So it's no wonder that this area has a lot of documentation. It's a mecca for activity at Hillview Manor. So we're going to conduct a spirit box session here. A spirit box uses rapid succession of radio stations to try and catch voices that might be communicating within the radio waves. We're using that electromagnetic spectrum. Radio waves are at the very bottom of the EM spectrum. They have the longest and biggest wavelengths. So interference with these waves is fairly common. Now that can of course be a blessing and a curse because there's really no method to this method. And it's mostly up for interpretation. Are you guys still hanging out in your own stomping grounds? Here, yeah. My name's Lauren. And this is Christopher.
Oh, whoa. Sorry, I'm trying to set my camera.
No, I thought I. Can you tell us your name? Did you hear James? Am I just hearing things? I don't know if I'm doing selective hearing. Can you tell me your name again? I don't think I heard it. Do you remember what I said my name was? What do you think? Did you hear anything of note during our spirit box session? Comment below and label your findings with a number 2 so that I know which one that you're talking about. Now, though my beliefs on what spiritual energy is can vary, I still make it a point to always speak with respect and as if I'm talking to another human. I have absolutely no tolerance for negative or disrespectful provocation, and this is no matter the intent of the energy. I typically find it to be ego-fueled, and therefore reckless and obtuse behavior elicited typically by malinformed pursuers of shock value entertainment. But I digress. Let's check out some more investigating. We decided on the bottom of a stairwell, and there have been a lot of claims of activity from a resident who fell down the stairwell. Now, this is an area that is completely closed off, so there's not a lot of sound or energy contamination. The box we're using is our REM pod, or radiating electromagnetic antenna. It emits a low frequency EM field that's very sensitive to frequency changes in its immediate environment. It's best used in a controlled atmosphere, and with the understanding that things like walkie-talkies or even cell phones can interfere with the device. Yeah.
Where is Amanda?
Amanda, we set up a box right here that can let us know if you're present. And it's just so we can say hello. Yeah, but it makes a lot of really pretty lights. Although we didn't get to document much activity with our REM pod, I still wanted to show you how we set up an experiment. Now, in investigation, we really do lean on that electromagnetic spectrum. This spectrum is a range of all possible frequencies or wavelengths of electromagnetic radiation. What is that radiation? It's energy. Energy made up of tiny little particles called photons moving at the speed of light. The interesting thing about this energy in particular is that it has lots of frequencies or wavelengths, and we can interact with it. And, theoretically, so can spirit energy or entities. just on a different scale, because it's widely accepted within the paranormal community that these spirits or entities are made up of electromagnetic energy. Now, human beings, like in this form, we do emit electromagnetic energy. It's just on a very small scale. It's infrared radiation. So isn't it likely that if energy can't be created nor destroyed, it has to go somewhere? Let's explore another phenomenon in investigation.
So I want to say to your left is the hospital, which is the area I don't love. I can already smell it. It smells like death in here.
So while reviewing this clip, I was going to talk about the physical sensations that we can experience, whether they're like emotional or like visceral, like smell or taste. But did you hear that?
Which is the area I don't love. I can already smell it.
Now, this can easily be explained away as maybe my voice or a voice of one of the workers, but we are in a completely different part of the building, and Hillview Manor is actually really, really good about their employees staying in one secure area so that they don't contaminate investigations. Now, this muffled voice is a higher pitch, so again, it's easily written off as mine. But the interesting part about it is after we catch this, you can hear me talking facing away from the camera, and I am very articulate. I mean, I'm fucking loud, and I'm not at all muffled in the audio.
Is the hospital, which is the area I don't love. I can already smell it. It's like death in here. It's not even
we have
like
to remember too what the people were kind of going through here.
it's not even me being cornball. It's just I can.
Now, because I really believe in the power of suggestion and it can really influence what others think the evidence is, I'm going to leave it to you to comment what you think the voice says. So comment below with the number 1 and I'll know that you're talking about this particular piece of evidence. Let's play it a couple more times.
I don't love. I can already smell love. I can already smell.
Now, this phenomenon is called an EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. The idea that spiritual communication can happen within electronic objects without us experiencing it in real time can be explained by the difference between sound waves and electromagnetic waves. Think of a radio or noise in space. Sound waves can't travel through a vacuum. The atmosphere just doesn't support it because sound needs molecules to move through. Radio waves, or electromagnetic energy, doesn't. With a radio, like a walkie-talkie, my voice can travel through space easily. And that's one of the ways, or the ideas, behind why we can catch voices on a digital recorder, or a video camera even, but not hear them with our own ears. There are also other theories behind this idea as well, involving infrasound or ultrasonic sound. There is something called pareidolia, where we think we see faces and things. Well, there's also an auditory version, and that is often the culprit for misinterpreted EVPs. If you hear something and I say, oh my gosh, it says, my grandma's here, your brain is going to try to hear that, especially if it's something like a muffled voice. Even though we can catch really interesting pieces of evidence like this, we can't really say it's 100% paranormal, but it sure is exciting. And that's the point sometimes. I'm going to stand away from the digital recorder just so that everybody knows that nobody is tampering. We want to make sure that the questions are always respectful. We do not talk about any kind of demonic activity. That is a whole other topic. My name is Lauren, and I'm here with my husband, Christopher, and a whole bunch of our friends, and we'd really love to say hello or make contact with anybody that is here with us tonight. There's some dripping water, so we'll definitely note that. And my shoes are a little squeaky, so we'll note that as well if we hear that.
That didn't sound like a alarm.
Is it down your way? because I heard water up here. What did you hear down there?
Like a little bit of a heavier bang.
Now, when Christopher heard that noise, he didn't immediately say, "Did you hear that bang?" That's an active example of the power of suggestion. He just notes that there was an irregularity in the session that we were conducting. Now, I didn't hear the noise initially, but we did catch it. So let's listen again, and we'll also review it on another camera that was sitting on top of the counter right next to the buckets that the water was dripping into.
That doesn't sound like water.
Is it down your way? Now, knocks can be very interesting pieces of evidence. But since we're dealing mostly with structures that don't have the funding for regular maintenance, we don't typically focus on noises unless they're prominent or persistent. So, our last piece of evidence, and one of my favorite experiments, even though it pisses people off, the flashlight experiment. Now, stay with me here. The idea is you have multiple flashlights that have a twist function. You twist them just between on and off so that any movement, vibration, temperature change can turn them on. Essentially, that change in the environment completes the connection between the small filament in the light and the battery in the base. The argument with this method is the control value. Because it's such a volatile setup, it's not dependable. Even saying that makes me chuckle. Because everything that we use has a huge margin for error. Whether it's using technology that has been modified for paranormal investigation, or techniques that depend solely on the senses of one individual, or even using things like an app on your phone. These are all incredibly popular things in this field. The idea is to stay open, continue to experiment in the same way every time, and see if you can connect a pattern. Just because it's parascientific doesn't mean we shouldn't be using the parascientific method. Now, this is the second time that we conducted this particular experiment in this area. We set it up in the same way as last time, flashlights in the same spot. We were even sitting in the same chairs. We were able to get similar results. Now, this could very well mean that the environment did harbor those results, but I'll need to conduct a lot more sessions before I can say anything conclusively. Good thing I like Hillview Manor. I'm gonna set up some flashlights, and I would be happy to chat if you'd like. These are super easy. Just grab onto them and they should light up. Right now, it doesn't matter which flashlight you touch. If you turn one on, then we can set that up to mean something and we'll go from there. Do you get a lot of visitors down here? So we're gonna name that one the blue flashlight. Now if you can grab the other flashlight, that's the white flashlight. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting a baseline for the activity. Although Christopher does get a little excited throughout this experiment. He's still learning, but it is very important not to immediately just humanize the situation. We don't need to thank inanimate objects every time they do something, because that can also tend to skew our view of the situation and bring us out of that parascientific method. Even though I did get a little excited this time, but I'm human.
like your visitors down here?
How's my stomach?
We're both hungry, George. You hungry? Go ahead and grab that same flashlight if you're hungry. Tell us. Yes. Or you can grab the other one for no. Maybe you don't get hungry wherever you are?
That must be nice. Just so we can establish that we are talking to you, perhaps, can you grab that other light that's right next to it? Are you working on that white flashlight? Is it not working? Turn that one off if the other one's not working. I'll double check it. Let's double check this other one. Excuse me. When I grab onto it and it turns on like that, that's kind of what we're looking for here. So see if you can turn that white one on now. See if it works better. All right, no lights, no lights. Well, I don't know.
Well, George, I can tell you this. I'm cold.
Me too.
We're both hungry.
I think we're gonna go eat. We're gonna let you rest, bud.
I think we're gonna go home and rest ourselves. Okay. I mean, we're gonna say goodbye, but
Yeah.
it'd be nice if you would turn on that white flashlight for us.
Yeah, if we can get that other one on. Because, not that you need to prove anything, we just aren't sure if we're just talking to a random flashlight or not. That's kind of what it comes down to. But, either way, we don't...
Okay. Thank you. Oh, I'm not supposed to thank the
You know what? That's okay. That's, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
So we appreciate that.
All right then.
Can you kick that blue one on one more time?
Yeah, I mean...
Do you want us to stay? Pick a flashlight if you want us to stay.
Actually... Aw, bud. I'll tell you what. What time is it? Because, I mean, we're only here... Okay. We got about 20 minutes. All right? And I'll tell you what. I don't mind staying here for the rest of our hangout here. And just because it would make my day, because I do this experiment a lot with these flashlights, could you, for me and the Stillers, could you flip on both of those lights at the same time? So grabbing both of those flashlights, same time, blue and white, for me.
One right after the other, even. If you can't get them both on at the same time, maybe just grab one and then grab the other one. That's good. And what about the other one?
Get them both for me, George.
You grab that second one.
That blue one's doing good. Can we get that other one on too?
And right now the white one. Hey, no. Well, you know what?
All right. You gonna try to get both of those lights on?
You shut that one off.
Ah, there we go. Oh, man.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. Now I feel super special. Thank you.
You can shut that off now, George. Appreciate that.
I really appreciate that, George. More often than not, your experiments are likely not paranormal. But sometimes, coincidence can start to turn into a pattern, and it does get a little exciting. After this initial interaction, we did open up a line of communication and received some consistent, some inconsistent answers. But the only thing that this does tell us is that when we do go back to Hillview Manor, we'll have a focused plan around this area in particular for further investigation. Paranormal is always an ongoing endeavor, and technically, it never has to end. Thank you so much for joining me, whether it was here on YouTube or over on TikTok for our live. I do have some new dates up for future investigations on my website, and I really, really hope I see you there. When investigating the paranormal, be patient, be kind, be objective, but always leave room for the what if. I am Lauren Hellickson. Happy haunting.